Hello, my name is Zach Goodrich, and I am here to present religion in schools and to review our policies with our board at our special board meeting. And to begin, we'll just go through the PowerPoint and have any discussions or questions at the end of this presentation. To start, we'll go with an overview. We want to review and update our school board policies that may be out of date with the current laws and guidelines that have been updated. We will discuss the First Amendment and how it applies to education, to students, staff, and all stakeholders that may be involved. Through our slides, we'll go with the First Amendment, go over student rights, educators and staff rights, and our potential updated policies to our school board. The First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right to the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for the redress of grievance. As we have learned in the Pew Research, although Constitution forbids public school officials acting in their official capacities from directing or favoring prayer students and teachers, they do not shed their constitutional rights to freedom of speech or expression at the schoolhouse gate. And that to me is something that you want to continue to communicate as it does help our students, again, kind of figure out who they are and what they believe in. And so for us, we want to make sure we communicate that at a high level. Schools also must remain neutral among these, whether it's faith or whether it's a potential different opinion on what they believe. And so we want to make sure as a school we stand in a neutral position. Students' rights. Students acting on their own have the same right to engage in religious activity and discussion as they do to engage in comparable secular activities. They have the ability to engage in worship or study religious materials with fellow students during non-instructional time. And that will be something that, as we go throughout these rights and these guidelines and laws, a lot of it has to do with instructional and non-instructional time is how they differentiate what they want in the guidelines. And again, to the same extent that they may engage in non-religious activities. They may read from religious materials, again, during that non-instructional time or for instructional purposes, whether it's going through a history or a play or something similar to that degree. And the use of facilities, the ability to use a gymnasium or gather for another element is students can organize prayer groups, whether that's meeting in the cafeteria or whether that's a club that is meeting after school. And so a lot of these things that students have rights to, we would want to make sure we're communicating not only with the students, but their families that have that background that attend our school. Staff rights and conduct. Engaging in private prayer during the workday where they are not acting in their official capacities and where their prayer does not result in any coercion of students. Again, that's one of the areas where we would communicate with our teachers and those on staff that we do not pressure any of our students to engage in prayer or discourage any of those beliefs. We stay in that neutral focus and continue to just be supportive of our students and make sure they're following in guidelines with their expression of faith or in their prayer time. School employees may also engage in private religious expression or brief personal religious observance during such times, subject to the same neutral rules the school applies to other private conduct by its employees. When off duty, school employees are free to engage in worship, proselytizing, or any other lawful faith-based activity. One thing that, for many instances, although school authority may impose rules of order and particular restrictions on student or teacher activities, they may not discriminate against prayer or religion perspective and applying rules and restrictions. And that will go for a lot of the rights for the students and the staff. As our school and our mission is, we do not want to discriminate or put any restrictions on, again, their strong backgrounds, because that is, our students, and we want to help them, again, find their current and future success and well-being. And we want to know, again, that we are meeting their needs in this particular topic. To update our policy, some of the things we would look at: a moment of silence. What does our policy say? Students may participate in the moment of silence and pray to themselves. Some students do not have to participate, but where are we communicating that? How do we view that? What are we telling our students or staff during those moments of silence that take place in our building? Our certification process, for us, making sure we're annually getting our paperwork done, and getting our certification sent off to the SEA, that the SEA policy of ELEA that prevents or otherwise does it deny participants in constitutional protected prayer in public elementary and secondary schools. And so for us, making sure we are doing our part each year, again, reviewing where we are and making sure that we're up to date with the guidelines of the current law. Prayer and or blessings, whether it's at a ceremony, a graduation, speaker that's outside of our school, just making sure that we communicate with all our individuals involved. If there's a speaker that shares a particular message for our students, or a student has a certain scripture in their speech, we want to make sure as a school we do have the ability to choose to issue appropriate neutral disclaimers of schools and sponsorship or approval, again, of each non-curricular groups, or may not encourage or discourage those actions by those individuals that are speaking or praying at our school. The use of facilities, again, we want to be able to communicate, knowing when these actions and behaviors can take place. For us, it's an element of understanding what we're putting in our policy and making sure we're getting that information out to all stakeholders that are involved. Religious groups and clubs, we want to make sure our students know that they have the same opportunities to put groups together, whether that's worship groups, clubs, that we have other non-religious activities at our school, and just providing them with as much education on where we're not, again, putting any other students and I guess don't want to use the word harm's way, but we want to respect all our students in our building and make sure that they have the ability to feel supported and become the best individual they can be. Religious clothing and jewelry. In most cases, schools do permit staff, students to wear religious clothing and jewelry, basically making sure that we communicate that it's not offensive to other students, but we will continue to, again, give guidelines to help students enjoy coming to our school, but also knowing that we have their best interests when making these decisions. From a correlation, I will just read through. It was for me. It's important to know that we need to communicate the guidelines and regulations to staff and students on their rights during their time at school. I wanted to evaluate the current policy and to assist with the updating process with being well versed in school law and the ability to understand if our policies are meeting the current trend of issues that are arising, or in educating our staff and students of their rights in the building. And again, it basically, from my recent reading of the researchers, is understanding instructional and non-instructional time. Is it appropriate for this religious material to be read in this class? And just really putting the focus on what the guidelines are saying. Most issues arise when communications are up to date, policies are lacking. Ethically, one thought is I would have is if we're approaching the board members, discuss this special board meeting with the superintendent. Equity, we provide opportunities for all religious exercise to understand their rights within our school. We want to communicate through board meetings. Once approved, send out policy updates to stakeholders through email, monthly newsletter, and in services for staff when they take place. And communicate with all stakeholders and make visits to classrooms. Continue to support all staff members and ask for feedback on the policy updates and just kind of see how everyone was receiving it from the students and staff. Relevancy statement. For me, this assignment was relevant to my experience as it provided me a new insight into this topic with public school systems. I did not know about the annual certification process for public schools and plan to reach out to our neighboring schools and see how and what the process looks like for them. During my time in public schools, there was some religious activity that took place, but it did not register during to me of how it was taking place, and I will be more aware of when I'm in different public school settings or as a future building leader in a public school. I will know resources that are available to help me refresh on updated guidelines and permissible behavior for students and staff. Currently, being at a private school, we have guidelines we follow for our staff and students that allow our teachers to express their belief during instruction and non-instruction time. And in personal reflection, as a future building leader, this assignment has influenced me to be very intentional in communication with this particular topic. In the world we live in today, the process of over communicating will hopefully have a positive impact of having all stakeholders understand the guidelines, regulations, and laws within education and our facilities. We would accomplish this by communicating by using our in-service time and professional learning opportunities and discuss certain trends and expectations for the year. I believe this will be helpful for teachers to be prepared for different situations that may arise in the classroom or with a coworker. We will make sure all stakeholders have a policy manual and highlight the policies that have been updated, and we will emphasize as the new school year begins. The goal is to stay consistent with the expectations and all staff that are following the guidelines. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and we will discuss any questions you may have.